G'day everyone, welcome to episode 1 of a new series on our YouTube channel where we chat to experts outside of the sports betting arena who specialise in other forms of investment and ways to make money online, similar to what we do at Trademate Sports with sports betting. Today, Marius and I are diving deep into the cryptocurrency world as we welcome on our first guest in this series, Grey Jabesi, from the YouTube channel Hardc0re Crypto. Welcome on, Grey.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me.
No, it's great to have you on board, mate. And we've got lots of very basic questions for you today, probably a lot less advanced than the stuff you talk about on your own channel. And it's probably just important to put out there that my knowledge especially is very, very, very poor in the cryptocurrency world. So I'm sorry if I offend any people out there with my lack of knowledge, but hopefully there are people like that at me that can learn like me along the way. Marius a lot more experienced than me, and hopefully Marius will learn a bit too, mate. Why don't we just give you an easy question to start with, like how you got involved in the crypto world?
Thanks for that. Yeah, so I got in the crypto world from just simple curiosity, and I had two events that actually triggered this. One was I had my money frozen by the bank before for no reason. So it somehow made me question how I could how if I have money in the bank. Well, let me put it this way: I saved up a little bit of money, which ended up, and that was the most amount of money I've ever saved at that point, right? And I visited and asked me some questions, thinking about, okay, how can I really be in control of my money? Because it seems the way to do it. And then I came across Bitcoin on Reddit when Bill Gates was having an AMA, which then started to make sense for me. The second layer was because I was trying to make money online, and I was reading a lot of books about money and how to make money, and they had one thing in common. Most people who actually made the money, they had a multiplier, right? Like something with a maximum upside that brought them a lot of value. So I was earning, less than $800 per month on my job. So I was like, okay, for me to ever make $1 million, it seems impossible. If I'm expecting to grow my money by saving it, which is what we learn, we have to save the money. I did the math. I could see that there is no way I could become a millionaire. So I was looking for a vehicle that could potentially multiply my money a lot faster. And then when I came across crypto, it made sense. I was like, yes, this is it. Because from the time I found it, and from the few years before that, I could see that it had gone up by thousands of percent. I was like, okay, this might be it. And then I looked into it. It made sense in a lot of ways. And then I just stepped into it.
What year did you get involved in crypto?
You mean where?
What year? Like when?
Oh, when? Okay. This was 2016 at the beginning of 2016. I found it in 2015. I started becoming more serious about it in 2016.
Could you please explain what blockchain is in a simple way?
Okay, in a simple way, blockchain is a way of storing data in a way that is much more secure because there is encryption used to secure the data. But it's also, I like to give stories instead of technical explanation because I want people to get it. So imagine if we storing information, right? When we're working with the bank, what we're doing, basically, we're trusting Joe to keep our money, to record whatever we do on the network. Let's say I have $5, I send it to you. The bank will be the intermediary that will process that transaction. They will know I have $5, I sent you $1, then I have $4 remaining, now $1. We're trusting this central party to process our transaction. Okay, but the bank has control. They can be like, okay, instead of reporting that I have $4 in my account now, they can report that I have $3, and report that you have $10 because to them, it's just a matter of changing the numbers into the ledger, right? So they pretty much have the control. They're the middleman in between. That's how data is stored, right? Whereas blockchain, there is no one Joe in the middle. There is so many Joes, right? And these Joes, they're not only based in Australia. There's another one in the US, another one in South Africa, another one in Canada. They're spread out. And let's say we have 10 Joes. So if I send you $1, each one of these Joes in between us have to check their records. They all have one spreadsheet that they look, but they have to go and check the whiteboard to make sure that the transaction is real. And each one of them has to confirm. So if I send you $1 out of my $5, they have to go back to the spreadsheet and say, oh, did this guy have actually $5? Let's go see. Joanne will check on the spreadsheet, on the same spreadsheet, on the same whiteboard, and see that, okay, this is true. Joe number 2 will also look at the whiteboard and say, okay, this is true. If all of these guys agree that this is real, remember, they are all located in different places. They're not colluding. They don't even know each other. If they agree, the transaction will go through. If some of them say, 6 of them say, we don't agree with this, the transaction is not going through. Let's say my $5 was a fraud, and I just tried to print it. I just printed it from some wallet. They'll see that this is not, according to our history, this $5 that he's claiming that he had, it's not real. So blockchain is a way of storing data in a distributed way instead of trusting one control source. So in terms of what blockchain does solve is this element of data integrity. If you have a song on your phone right now, you can send that phone across to so many friends. The same song can be copied and pasted to so many people, no problem, right? So that makes having data on your computer a little bit less special. In the real world, objects are pretty unique. They can be fungible, but they're very unique. So if I have this mug over here, well, you can have another one that looks like this, but this is the only one that exists in the world, right? So if I want to share with you, you cannot simply just copy and paste it to so many people. It's either you're going to break down a small piece of this, or you're going to take the whole thing. So Bitcoin, the Bitcoin blockchain introduced that to the internet, where instead of just copying and paste number, you can actually have a number that is really special and unique, that for you to send it to someone else, it has to be the entire number or a portion of it, making data on the computer now becoming a lot more real. And these are new phenomenons that we have never been used to think of how data is stored or what money is. So they can be a little bit confusing in the beginning, but once you dig more into them, you start to understand that, oh, okay, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So, blockchain is just that. It's a way of storing data in a way that's decentralized. But the difference is that the data is not kept by people or institutions. They're kept by anybody around the world, meaning that we don't need an institution to do it, because it's not institutions or people running it. The regulations that are on banks or institutions do not apply. Therefore, it makes currencies that are running on the blockchain global, because there is no Australian company running Bitcoin, right? It's just on the world running. So you can say Bitcoin is Australian as much as it's African, as much as it's American, as much as it's Chinese, as much as it's Japanese, because the people that are in control of monitoring the transactions in the network are globally distributed. Whereas if you look at the Australian central bank or the commercial banks, they're in control of processing the Australian banking transactions, right? That is the difference between the blockchain and the Bitcoin blockchain and all these centralized chains.
All right. Could you give a super quick explanation of BTC as well?
Yeah, sure. So BTC is a currency. It's actually a native currency of the internet, because it functions the same way the internet functions. So imagine this. We have been able to exchange things on the internet now for a very long time. Music, easily. Books, text, in so many things that we've been able to exchange. Movies, everything on the internet is easy to transfer. Messages, right? We can send messages to each other like it's nothing. We don't worry about borders. If you say, okay, give me your phone number, I'll send you a WhatsApp or Telegram or Signal, you're not thinking about where in the world the other person is. That would seem very dumb if somebody say, oh, but aren't you in Australia? I'd be like, okay, but we have the internet. So all these things have been possible with the internet, except always been the hardest thing to do somehow. That now when you want to transfer money, it's a big problem where you have to worry about, oh, but I'm in China, you're in Australia. How do I send you the money? Now you have to go through the banks. The process takes days to process. You have to answer so many questions. It's faster for you to transfer money by jumping onto the plane, flying to China on a plane. It will take you a couple of hours, get the funds over there and get back to Australia, right? It will take them 4 days to process the transaction. And they would charge you a lot of money on top of it. If it's weekend, they don't work. Which is, if you think about it, it's so unfamiliar with the current world of the internet that we live in, where everything is instant, there are no weekends, and everything is a lot faster. So Bitcoin is the money of the internet because there's no weekend, there is no central bank controlling the supply of it. There is no bank controlling how you're going to send it or how you're going to receive it. If you want to get some Bitcoin, you don't have to open a Bitcoin account to apply for it, provide your ID and whatever. All that does not matter anymore. They can go on their phone, download, receive it immediately, right? So think of a Bitcoin as an Australian dollar, exactly the same. If you want to buy in Australia to a currency exchange to convert your Australian dollars to euro. Bitcoin is exactly the same, but it's not attached to any government, much like the euro is or the US dollar is. Bitcoin is just global. And it has a limited supply. It's controlled by computers. It's very public in the way that it works. You can check all the Bitcoin transactions that are happening right now with better currency for mitigating fraud, right? Before the current money supply it's very private in a way that we see a lot of bad things happen in the world. People fund terrorists, and there's a lot of shady deals, corruption. They happen because these things are not really transparent. They happen behind back doors. Bitcoin is an open protocol. The code, you can actually read the code that runs Bitcoin. If you find vulnerability in it, you can actually hack it if you want, because the code is out there publicly available on GitHub. But it's not hacked, not because it's private. It's not hacked because it's very robust. It's strong. If you look at the banking system, the bank would never release the code that runs the banks because they know that people would find vulnerabilities and hack them, which exactly is not how systems should be built. A system should not be strong because you're hiding some information from people. Like I said before, for things to work, you have to design them in the way that they actually work. If you want to get rich, design a system that makes it impossible for you to be poor. Whereas most of the current systems, the centralized ones, they're based on secret, hiding something out, because if you air it out, it will become vulnerable. Bitcoin is the opposite. It becomes stronger by being exposed to extreme measure, government scrutiny, volatility, and hacks. And then over time, it just becomes stronger and stronger.
Yeah, cool. And why do you think, like, overall people should invest in cryptocurrencies outside other investment strategies like, stocks, property, this kind of stuff?
Like I said before, crypto is a multiplier. So when I found out about it, for me, in 2015, it clicked. In 2016, I sold my car. Pretty much everything I had, I put it all into Bitcoin. It sounded like a crazy idea then, but once it clicked for you, you're going to end up doing some crazy stuff like that, because that, by design, this is a currency that will up in value. It has a limited supply. It is more predictable in terms of how it will play out in the future. It's the fiat monetary system, which has no limit. They just keep printing more, which keeps devaluing it. Meaning that if you're saving money, getting less of your money over time. It's almost like imagine someone who's $10,000 in 1994, right? They have less money right now, right? The $10,000 was worth more before, but due to inflation, dollars is worth nothing today. So in terms of Bitcoin, it's different. It's a deflationary currency. It goes up in value since it got started. So you can imagine that in 2010, somebody was paying 30,000 Bitcoins to buy a piece of pizza, right? Now, if you work for $50,000 a year, you're working to just make one Bitcoin a year right now, even less than one Bitcoin. So if you want to take control of your money, I think Bitcoin is the way to go. And also, if you are looking for new ways of making money online, let's say how to earn more interest than what the banks would give you, the crypto space has a lot of products, like there's decentralized finance, or known as DeFi. I don't know if you guys know about it, where you can stack your money into some place and then, you earn 5 to 41% interest on your coins a year. Whereas the banks are giving you almost to zero. You cannot invest in bonds right now. So basically, the entire fiat monetary system is currently designed to keep the poor poor. So if you're not really absolutely rich with lots of serious money, you are at a huge disadvantage at the moment. So I think you have to do some kind of an unusual activity these days to protect yourself from inflation, or to actually increase your chances of becoming wealthy, if that's what you're looking to do, if you want to make money online, for example.
With regards to staking with, let's say, BlockFi, how do you view like the risk of the volatility of the price versus the 10% interest? Because you have to lock up money for a certain period, right? With the staking. So what if the fundamental asset like suddenly makes a big drop in value? How do you view that 10% a year versus the risk of the price changing a lot?
That's easy. So you look at it like this: are you holding that token over time? If yes, so let's say you're a holder of BTC. You like Bitcoin, you're just holding it, or Ethereum, and you don't care if it goes up and down in value. When I bought in my car, it almost dropped by half. Everybody thought it was crazy, but I just wanted to keep it because I know that in the future it would be worth a lot more. So if at that time, if I had interest earning wallet where I like Compound or any other smart contracts out there that would give me 5 or 10% a year, one Bitcoin, it means that at the end of that 1.1 BTC, it doesn't matter how much the dollar value of it is, right? But so this works if you coins that you want to accumulate first. But at the same time, if you are looking at then you convert your money into like DAI or USDC, USDT, which these ones have no volatility. They don't go up or down. So if you're earning 8% on those, then you're perfectly fine. You don't have to worry about the coin going down.
Yeah. So for readers who are not familiar with the crypto space, could you quickly explain what a stablecoin is?
A stablecoin is a tool that was created to help Bitcoiners or crypto traders escape the Bitcoin's volatility. Because in Bitcoin, the core currency has always been Bitcoin itself. Then you could trade Bitcoin with altcoins. But due to volatility, if exchanges could not get hold of the US dollar exchange due to regulations, the way to do it. So what they did, they created a token. The first one was it's called Tether, which was the first stablecoin. They would create a token that is backed by real US dollars. So because tokens, they don't really have a regulatory framework at the moment globally, they're just a cryptocurrency. They can be traded anywhere. They could list this token as a dollar. So if you say Bitcoin has gone up too much and you want to sell to buy again when it goes lower, you use this stablecoin. Or if you just want to keep your money on the exchange waiting for an asset so that you can buy lower, you use the stablecoin to keep your money because it has no volatility. So one stablecoin is equal to $1. It just means that the issuer of that stablecoin must have the exact same amount in the bank to back it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I got a question. I'm going to interrupt because I'm coming from the dumb side over here. So if I've invested in Bitcoin, let's just say, and my investment's grown to millions of Bitcoin, whatever you want to call it, and there's lots of money sitting there for me, and I'm thinking now's the time where I want to take it out and turn it into money in my bank account. I have to sell the Bitcoin or exchange the Bitcoin for stablecoin, and then I can withdraw stablecoin into my bank account.
Number one, if you have millions of Bitcoins, the government is probably going to give you a call. That's one, because there are only 21 million coins, right? So you can have millions of dollars, but one Bitcoin today is $60,000. So you're more likely not going to have millions. But if you have millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, then all you need to do is to sell your Bitcoins to your dollars and you withdraw the dollars. No need to go to a stable coin, because even the Bitcoin dollar market is large, right? It's billions of dollars are traded every day. So you simply just sell your Bitcoins to your dollars and you withdraw to the bank. It's much more liquid than gold to actually withdraw Bitcoin. Most people don't know that. They think Bitcoin is very complicated, but to buy and sell Bitcoin is an easy process. Takes you 5 minutes. There's so many different markets for it these days, and there is demand for Bitcoin right now, even more than gold. So there you go.
So Alex, the use case for stablecoin is more like if you made a lot of profit with Bitcoin and you want to sell that off because you think that the price is going to drop and then buy in later into Bitcoin, you would put the money in USDT in the meantime and then buy in at a later point.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So with the prices so volatile, I remember talking to Marius a couple of weeks ago about this, and he was telling me to invest in Bitcoin, and I looked at the price compared, 2 weeks ago to what it is today. It's risen significantly, but there's been times where it's been, there's been massive volatility and it's dived down. Like, how do you, for someone like me right now, I'm thinking, all right, I want to get into Bitcoin, but should I invest now or should I wait for it to take another dip? Like, how do you get around the best time to invest?
That's a very hard thing to find out, because you have imagine someone who was waiting for Bitcoin to drop to buy low at 20,000. Then what? Right? So it's really difficult to time the market. So, especially if you're not a trader. So what I would do is that you should use what we call dollar cost averaging. You select a time period at which you want to buy the asset no matter what. So that's actually how I started buying myself, because I got in when it was high. At the time, it was very popular. So I just started saying, okay, I will be taking 20% of my income buying Bitcoin every month, no matter what, whatever the price is. Over time, you realize that you're a better price than someone who went all in at one price point, right? Right now at Crypto University, we just launched a new course using bots to trade for you, that you can actually set them up to do this kind of thing for you. Give them money, give them an instruction that, hey, I want you to be buying BTC for me every week, right? And then they'll be doing that accordingly. So that's another way to do it. Waiting right now, you're saying you think it's too high. Well, $60,000 was too high as well. But now people are like, oh, I wish Bitcoin could just go down to 50,000 so that I can buy and, go all in. So it depends. If your overview of it, I like to say, if you buying, thinking 5 years from now, timeline horizon for you to ever realize anything, right? If it happens faster to you, but think longer. So if you're thinking longer term, then you can buy right now. You're still fine if you're thinking long term. If you just want to get in and get out quickly, then you have to be careful when you buy it. Which I think most people should think long term. And why would you not want to buy Bitcoin over time anyway? You just have to keep buying.
So during that period, since you came in 2016, that means you've been through both the bull and the bear cycle. So how did you handle it once the prices started like making big drops? Did you just remain calm, or did you like do trading then, or what did you do?
Well, it was more like this. I did the math myself quickly, so I couldn't see how this could not play out. I looked at the money supply, I looked at where the world is going, and I looked at the design of Bitcoin. I'm coming from a computer background, so there are certain elements that I couldn't imagine that could be solvable. And then Bitcoin solved it exactly. It really made data integrity become a real thing. And to me, that was mind blowing. And then if you read the white paper of Bitcoin, there's this all game theories that would be like, okay, how did this guy or whatever, whoever created this came up with it? It's almost like good incentive models, good governance system. So for a systems nerd like me, wow, it was more like nothing that I've ever seen, And I've always had a problem with government and how our governance system worked. And Bitcoin gave me a good model of how things could be designed. It's almost like let's say you want to get rich. In my philosophy, if you want to get rich, the best thing to do is to design a system that makes it impossible for you to be poor, right? So this can look like, well, maybe you should be working 24 hours a day. Then that will increase your chances of getting rich. And then maybe you should also hire a lot more people. The more people you have, if they're smart people, they'll increase your chances even higher. Well, maybe you should use a lot of computer and software to automate a lot of processes that are mundane. Maybe you need to do a lot of marketing, right? If you add all these things together, you realize that there are point where it would be. Bitcoin is a system like that where I don't need to trust anyone to make things work. It's designed to work. If you try to break it, you can break it, but then if it breaks, everybody loses as well, including the person who tried to break it. That kind of thing. So, I got really interested in that aspect of it, that all this price volatility, I really never cared. I just knew that, okay, catch up to this, and the more people buy it, the higher the price will go. Last year was a big year. MicroStrategy came in through $400 million worth of Bitcoin, a publicly traded company. And now this year we saw Tesla and Elon Musk coming in hard, and we're now seeing the banks looking into it. And I'm like, okay, it only makes sense right now. So I never really worry about the volatility at all.
Okay, and this could be a question that could take a long time to answer, but if you could make it as quick as possible and just a really brief explanation of like the step-by-step process of people like myself who have never invested in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, and what I have to go through to get to the point where I purchase my first ever cryptocurrency.
Oh, that's easy. The first thing I think is to be interested in money. You need to care about your money. Think about it like, if you had to think of yourself as a real human being, your own nation state, because you are an individual, right? If you had to think of yourself and think of your life as an independent economy and how you want to run it, how you want to make money, grow it, and multiply it, then I think you should read the Bitcoin white paper. But practically, to get started, simply you download a wallet, right? You download a Coinbase wallet, or you download a Binance wallet. If these are apps, you simply download, get registered. It takes a few minutes to register. You connect them with a bank account, deposit funds from your bank account into those platforms. You buy Bitcoin. This whole process will take you less than an hour. Then you buy your first Bitcoin. Simple. Or you can actually buy Bitcoin with your credit card now with the Crypto.com wallet. You go to the App Store, you download .com or Binance. You will be able to download a wallet and then buy BTC with your credit card immediately. Then you're in. And I recommend actually buy it first, because once you're in, it gives you the itch to now become more curious and learn a lot more into it, to read up about it, start paying attention to the price, then you start looking at other coins, and your knowledge just starts expanding from there. So if you want to really get deep into it, you can join us at Crypto University. cryptouniversity.us is the website. You can learn more about this, whether you want to become an investor or a trader, or you want to learn how to generate passive income by trading cryptocurrencies using robots. We have a course for that will take you step by step, showing you how it works.
Right. So should I diversify my portfolio within crypto, or should I just stick to Bitcoin?
If you're a beginner, stick to Bitcoin until the other stuff starts making sense to you, because at face value, the very first thing that will make sense to you will be Bitcoin. And from the Lindy perspective, BTC has been around for over 10 years now, so you know that it's more likely to exist longer. It is the strongest and the longest blockchain on the network. It has never been hacked, so it's more likely to also continue for another 10 years or so, right? The others are pretty new. They have their own problems, and they have a different value proposition to Bitcoin. So before you get excited with those, and the other cryptos, actually, they're more scam-like because they have very big promising narratives and communities too much, and they're somewhat cheaper. So someone will be like, okay, this one is only a few cents. Bitcoin is 60,000. Maybe if I buy this one, then if it becomes Bitcoin one day, I'll become so rich. That is the perspective that people come into. They say they would buy something like XRP because they're like, it's worth a couple of cents. But what you didn't do there, you didn't do the math to understand. You didn't look at the total supply, the circulating supply. Then you would see, if you do, that if you have a token that has 100 billion token total supply, then you're probably paying $1,000 for it, but you just don't know it. If you had to compress the numbers down to like 21 million coins like Bitcoin. So it's also a space where you need to really be careful and pay attention to the numbers if you want to diversify your portfolio. But for beginners, keep it BTC. You can never go wrong with Bitcoin.
Sounds like accumulators in sports betting.
Yeah, it does. I would always look at like the market cap and not the actual price. Like, it was pretty funny when Gene Simmons from KISS tweeted that ADA was so much cheaper than Bitcoin because the dollar price was lower and was only like $1. But yeah, market cap is everything there. How have you split your own portfolio between different cryptos? If you're willing to share that, or just give like a broad overview.
So I like to keep it 60% to 70% BTC, mostly 70 now. So what tends to happen is that I'll pick certain coins that I think they have high potential, and then they would what would end up happening is that they eventually almost outperform the BTC one, because altcoins, they have a higher upside if you pick the right ones. Right now you have about 6,000 altcoins in the market, so it's very difficult for you to pick the right ones, right? So I've been in the space for a long time, so I'm good at picking them. I also have a team; they do the research, so we know what to buy. So every now and then we have to always rebalance things out. But mainly the core portfolio consists of BTC, Ethereum. It consists of ADA, and there is some other coins on there that are, we are in and out. Right now, for example, I've been accumulating BNB since it was $5. Now it's about time that maybe I should offload it. If it hits $300 again, we're offloading it into diversifying the profits into something. This other part of my portfolio, the portfolio that I manage, where it has to, we get in and out of coins depending on, we have some of our own strategies that we use to select which ones to get into, and then at what point we sell. So we can buy pretty much anything that sounds really like our core currencies, and ETH. and a little bit of that we got after a BTC fork, we still keep them. So we still have a lot of Bitcoin Cash because we never sell them. And then also we have some Bitcoin BSV after the fork from the Bitcoin Cash. We still hold those. We never sell them, but we don't think that they're going anywhere as much. But at least they're higher than what we got them when they got printed. And then we use our Ethereum token and everything that we have to receive airdrops and to also receive some to mine other coins. Liquidity mining is a big thing right now in crypto to accumulate more coins. Some of them we stake. So you realize that by the end you have a lot of shit coins that you don't really need because you get them for free using leverage of your own money that you already have. So we have a lot of coins, but mainly our portfolio is BTC, ETH, then the rest is kind of like a trading portfolio that we go in and out.
What resources do you use to do your research into these other types of cryptocurrencies like ETH, like you mentioned? Like what resources do you use, or what resources should people in the public use to do their research?
It's hard, right? So one, we can do our own research based on the a real technological research, because if it's not Bitcoin, the other ones are really coming in like technology propositions, right? Are we investing in Bitcoin? Because we know technological breakthrough. Ethereum was as well, but not at the same magnitude as the Bitcoin. Maybe you could say it was a 30% breakthrough technology, because it looked at what Bitcoin can do, then it created a platform to launch dApps on top of it instead of having to create their own blockchain. So that made sense. Since then, there haven't really been a breakthrough technology in crypto, right? They're now, most of these are sort of solutions, scaling solutions to what BTC and ETH is failing to do, right? Nothing really outstanding over there, right? So we look at new blockchains that have potential. That's why we went into ADA. We think that ADA is another blockchain that is so great. And then we have been investing in Polkadot as well. Absolutely great. We think that Polkadot has potential to solve some of these problems. Then we started buying it. And then, for example, that we had to do the research, reading the white paper, speaking to other people. Most importantly, the recent that have been coming out, they were actually coming from a VC funded perspective, right? So you can see Coinbase Ventures was in there. Most venture firms that have been formed to invest into blockchain. So we look at what those guys are doing, right? We went on Uniswap really hard. We were liquidity mining on Uniswap because we think Uniswap was a breakthrough, some sort of a breakthrough technology. Even though they were copied, we think Uniswap will be around for a while. We got the free Uniswap tokens, and after Uni was launched, we started liquidity mining Uni, and we're now sitting at a big Uni bag, which appreciated from $3 when we started accumulating it. Now it's over $30. So, that is another 10x growth within a few months already, since September, right? So there are all these things at play. But in terms of how we select, we look at domains and technology. So domains meaning that, okay, in the money space, which one is more likely to BTC is a good money to? What about in the blockchains? Okay, Ethereum, Ethereum, ADA, and Polkadot looks promising. What about in the privacy space? In the privacy, we have Monero. Or what about in supply chain or scaling solutions, or in the Oracle solutions? Maybe you have Chainlink and you have all the other stuff. What about in the medical space? You also have other tokens that are doing well on there. So we look at it into those kind of verticals perspective, but we try to keep it very compressed as well at the same time. We're not too optimistic about market that has 6,000 coins, because the odds are really, again, going to play the altcoin game.
You've explained a lot of the things that'll get me to like a good stage now, but do you think Bitcoin will continue to grow, mate, and will the other cryptos continue to do the same?
I think that Bitcoin has reached the roof right now, man. Do you think it can go to 100,000 from here? It's too high. It's way too high.
You gotta sell out now. Sell out everything.
I'm joking. Look, when I was buying BTC, I was like, I was slapping my face saying, why didn't I buy this just 3 years ago? I could have been rich and quit my job. I didn't think it was ever going to reach $1,000 at all. It seemed high already, right? So I felt like that when it was $1,000, $3,000, $5,000, it always feels the same. But you don't have to use your emotion when you're analyzing it, or your idea of what money can be. Yes, it is real. One Bitcoin now is worth 60,000. That in itself means something. So what would stop it from going to 100,000, 200,000, $1 million? The math just makes sense. The Fed printed a whole lot of money into the system. That money has to go somewhere. And Bitcoin as a deflationary currency, it has to grow over time. And we're in a very interesting time in the economy at which, there is a lot of money printing, but also it's a condition in which Bitcoin was built to survive. This Bitcoin was launched in 2009 after the crash of 2008, right? So we have seen that, okay, in an economic crisis, at least for the first time, BTC and cryptos actually do well, and they actually eat almost everything in 2020. And it seems like in this recession that we're in right now, it will become a lot real when the economies are open, the banks have to print a lot more money, and then we'll just keep pumping the price of BTC to infinity. So yes, it will go up. The best you can do is to make sure you have some if you want to retire earlier than what the fiat world would tell you. You have to work for 30 years just to retire at a meat and potato dinner sort of situation when you're older, not ideal.
So do you think that this will become a super cycle for Bitcoin? And if not, how should one best prepare for like a bear market?
You shouldn't be worried about a bear market. I think you should be buying into this long term. The moment you start thinking like that, you remove the need of trying to game the market. I'll tell you a story of people that I know that were playing that game of like, oh, I want to buy, oh, it's too high right now, and sell it and then buy it back in. So these guys bought Bitcoin at 8,000. They bought a lot coming from the Forex market. They bought at 8,000 last year. So they're like, oh, it's old, right? we're playing the game. We can't, we're not the noobs that just want to leave the money over there. They sold, they bought back at 8K where they started, made profit, went to 12,000, 13,000. They sold again. It retraced a little bit, they bought back. Then it went to 15,000. Then they sold half of it. And then the market really never retraced, right? And then it went to 20,000 and they sold all of it. They're like, oh, this has to come back to 9,000. I think we have reached the top of last year, of 2017. This is going back, it will buy. Then it went to 30,000. They're still waiting to buy. It went to 40, 50,000, now 60,000. What then, right? So, I mean, it's a lot of work for you to start to game the future. You don't know what will happen. That's why all these big companies, they're just buying in and, chill down. They're probably buying at the worst time to buy. Who knows? The most important thing is that you have the BTC. If you buy one Bitcoin today, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. Bitcoin of 21 million coins. So you don't have to worry about the volatility as much. Time will give you the pleasure of that's what you should be looking at, not necessarily the price. But like I said before, if you worry too much about volatility, then do dollar cost averaging, buy in bits over time. That could help you save up a little bit.
All right. So when you're trading the different altcoins, do you have an exit strategy for them? Do you just sell when you exit the position? Do you sell everything at once, or do you do like 20%, then 20%? How do you go about that?
I have a video on my YouTube channel on ADA, for example, right? I bought on a live video, I bought about $700, $600 worth of ADA, right? I got about 15,000 coins, I believe, right? That was 2 years ago. Now the same portfolio is worth, ADA now is above $1. So now that's worth $15,000 in 2 years, right? And now what do you do to that? Well, it depends what your intentions were. My intentions is to accumulate more Bitcoin, right? So I'm trying to get as much Bitcoin as I can. So I use the altcoins to accumulate my Bitcoin. In that sense, I took $5,000 to myself, and then I took $5,000. I bought Bitcoin with it. Then I kept $5,000. I left there, right? So as worth of value in US dollar value, and I still have a stake. So if I had to be buying right now, I'd be like, okay, I'm starting on Ether with $5,000 right now, which means now I have 5,000 tokens that are at 5,000 value, which is already outperforming someone who's just getting started because I bought them at 600 anyway, right? So if someone is still optimistic about Ether and they're buying 5,000 right now, even if if they make 10x returns in the next 5 years, well, we exposed the same way to it. So, that's how I look at it. I just break down into thirds.
All right, that makes sense. Do you think that ETH has the potential to overtake BTC as a store of value one day?
No, ETH is not designed for that. And the tokenomics are designed to become that. Become a store of value, it would kill it. So if ETH, had to become a new Bitcoin, then the chain itself would be unusable. Bitcoin's proposition is a store of value. Ethereum's proposition is a platform. So if the platform isn't functional because the gas is too expensive, then there's no point of people holding the ETH. So it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't be a store of value. It is a token, a utility token. It can never become a Bitcoin, but it will do well in the blockchain's service space. I think Ethereum $10,000 very soon, especially if the proof of stake that we're looking at right now solves the scaling problem. There's a lot of Casper and all new technologies coming into the Ethereum blockchain that could solve the gas fees. It would allow Ethereum to scale by 100 times, in the next few years. I think when that happens, Ethereum 10K, no doubt.
Do you see any risks with Bitcoin?
So there's what do you mean? What kind of risk are you referring to, for example?
Do you think that there is anything that could stop Bitcoin from fulfilling its promise of being like the digital money of the internet? Like a lot of the criticism that Bitcoin gets, I think, is just down to it being in an early stage of the use of the technology, and that once it matures, a lot of those things will fix themselves. Like it's like complaining that the internet is too slow in the 1990s. Yeah, sure, it was like super early stage, but in 20 years, then we have super fast broadband and everything on a lot of places in the world. So what do you think about the criticisms against Bitcoin, and are any of them valid?
The criticism of it, the serious failing that I'd be worried about is the technical problem, right? It's a math problem. So if somebody to find vulnerability that's real, when I say real, I mean it's mathematically real, that it renders Bitcoin irrelevant, or it can easily be hacked, or the numbers can be altered, then it's a real problem, right? So the way I look at it, investing in BTC right now, well, let me put this point out there. So like you said before, the technological problem, for as long as the security stands, all these other second layer problems will be solved, of transaction speed. Those are things that it's a technology. People forget a brick where, once you made it, it's made. It's technology. It improves over time. That's exactly the point. But the other risks, for example, regulation and government shutdown, which is another risk that people like to refer to. There, it just depends on what you're going to bet on, right? Are you going to bet on math and smart people, or are you going to bet on social constructs? The thing is that, math is very much more than social constructs. So you could say, okay, maybe the government is not going to allow it. Well, yeah, they might not allow it, but to actually destroy it is one thing. To successfully destroy it is one thing. It's like, is that even possible anymore? I don't know about that. So it's either you have to decide where you put most of your value into. Do you think that social phenomenon is stronger than the technological phenomenon? I don't know. I prefer to bet on the math side because social events are very difficult to predict, right? They're the most difficult thing you can ever predict, right? People wonder how Donald Trump became president. I'm like, well, construct. You could never predict anything in that realm. So you could be wrong in the short term because the governments can actually affect BTC. Like India said, ban Bitcoin. Okay, that's one thing. Nigeria said also ban Bitcoin. They try to do that. But in the long run, the math is more likely to be right. So I prefer to be on the side of BTC because the math is correct by design. Deflationary, 21 million coins. Compare that to our traditional financial system where it's infinite pumping of money, helicopter money. It can only go one way from there. And it doesn't have to be this big everyday use case currency. Right now, it seems like Bitcoin it's going towards a store of value like gold. In between, we're going to have other currencies, whether they will be printed by the central banks themselves, or there will be some other chains like Litecoin or Facebook's Diem or Libra. But I think BTC itself is here to stay because it has a lot more trust as a network, and it has been tested the longest. And the fact that it's becoming more decentralized, the world is becoming more open. I don't think it will ever make sense anymore at this point, I think it's never a reserve currency, a state perspective at this point. We kind of can't open a new book of what a reserve currency could be. And most countries now, they'll feel like it's a disadvantage to them to say, oh, now we have to be using the US dollar. They're like, well, you're getting a lot of control when you just simply print it. So for us to be on an equal footing, let's make the reserve currency decentralized where we don't always control it. Nobody can print it. Then we can do business from there. Whether that's going to be BTC or not, we don't know. But so far, BTC is what seems very promising.
Okay. I completely agree that I don't think anyone will be able to get rid of it because it's kind of like the internet. Once it's out there, it's impossible to shut down pretty much, especially with people using it. But if a country such as the US were to ban it, I think that could really hurt the adoption. And do you think that would be sort of enough to destroy the momentum of BTC, or do you think that it would still continue to grow regardless because it's so useful in other parts of the world where they don't have established banking systems, for example?
Well, I think BTC being banned in the US would be because then it will actually become more valuable. Most people in the United States that know that are into Bitcoin ecosystem, they're actually influential and they know the power. And it's impossible for a kind of someone to create. For example, a government perspective would be like, okay, let's ban it and we create our own. The moment you say create our own, you have already devalued that currency because nobody wants, because you're creating your own, you know it. And people don't understand that the strength in Bitcoin is not really the technology anymore. How Bitcoin can be built even better, even more scalable now with all these technologies. But Bitcoin is not stronger because it's the strongest technology. It also has all these social elements to it, like the creator being anonymous. That is a function that you cannot easily replicate to do. Ethereum has tried, but it failed. Vitalik tried to distance himself from the project, but it is really a Vitalik coin. You know, when people think Ethereum, they think Vitalik. BTC, you don't really have that. So if a country had to ban it, it would still become valuable in some parts of the world. And you actually just starving yourself from accessing this coin. So for example, US banning Bitcoin would be good for China because China would simply accumulate more Chinese people will have the BTC, which will render America now very incompetent in that space. So if BTC now becomes a global currency, the US is in a disadvantage. They will have to start buying it at a later stage, which is at a highly expensive price. which would give them a disadvantage in trading. Michael Saylor liked to say that BTC it's a monetary network, the strongest monetary network, right? Meaning that it could be a settlement layer. For example, all the money apps in the US that are really innovative, Square and Cash App, they actually have, and PayPal, they have bought a lot of Bitcoin because they want to have Bitcoin in their balance sheets. In the near future, they will start settling their payments in BTC globally, which will remove all the regulatory framework and friction we have to deal with. Now, if you as a country in the near future, you don't have any Bitcoin, then you're going to have to buy Bitcoin to simply settle payments. Because for you to even create a second layer solution to make Bitcoin transaction a lot more faster, you're going to have the BTC in your balance sheets, right? So Apple, I think, will be the next company to buy BTC, because for Apple Pay to work effectively, they have millions of users using iPhone around the world. Apple Pay does not work where I am right now because of regulation, right? But if the settlement is happening in Bitcoin at a later stage, then they don't have to worry about all the regulation in between, which means Apple Pay can simply become a global payment method as long as the settlement is happening in Bitcoin. So you can also have cross monetary exchange within these apps. You can send from Cash App to Apple Pay because the settlement is being done not in US dollars, it's done in BTC. And then that will be another layer of activation. So, the growth from now on, it's just, I don't think Bitcoin is stoppable anymore at this point.
I think that was some very interesting points there, and also some things that I hadn't thought of myself. And I think what you said makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I think that that's the end of my questions, at least. So yeah, you wanna do the outro then, Alex?
No, that's awesome, mate. Thank you so much for your time, and you've been very generous with the amount of information you've been able to give to us and our audience. So yeah, thank you so much, Grey, and maybe you'd like to tell people where they can find you and your work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. So for those who want to find me, I'm on YouTube as Hardc0re Crypto, as you can see on the screen. And I'm also on, for those of you who want to get really into Bitcoin, the channel is a great platform for that. I show trades on there, how to make money online, on altcoins, Bitcoin, and different types of things, and also just learning how to do stuff. And then you can also find me on social media, Grey BTC on Twitter and Instagram and Clubhouse. And for those of you who want to take crypto seriously and learn about it in a formal way, then get to cryptouniversity.us or cryptouniversity.co.za. You can find us there, and you can grab a course where I teach you step by step how to do this.
Awesome, Grey. Thank you so much, mate. And yeah, it's been great having you on once again. So thank you so much. And thanks everyone for watching. If you did enjoy today, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. And yeah, comment any questions, and hopefully Grey can jump in and answer them at a later date. So yeah, great to meet you, and yeah, talk soon.
Right, cheers guys, thank you, and buy Bitcoin.